You? Are you serious right now? Layla's laughter rang down the school hallway loud enough to turn heads. First of all, you look like you shop from donation bins. And second, you're Arab. Not even if you were the last guy on Earth. Amir didn't flinch. He simply nodded, offered a calm smile, and walked away as whispers bubbled up around him. What Layla and the others didn't know was that this boy, quiet and overlooked, would someday step out of a blacked-out Rolls-Royce hand in hand with someone who saw his worth long before the world caught up. Amir was used to being invisible. It wasn't bitterness that shaped his silence, but rather a quiet resilience. He had arrived in the US from Jordan when he was 10, barely speaking a word of English. Years of being the foreign kid had taught him to listen more than speak. Now 17 and a senior at Crestwood High, he was fluent in English, an honors student, and quietly brilliant. His clothes were plain but neat, often second-hand but clean. He always carried a sketchpad, his outlet for the thoughts he never voiced. Layla, on the other hand, was the school's golden girl. Blonde, stylish, always surrounded by a group of friends who mirrored her high-status aura. She was homecoming queen the previous year and had her sights set on fashion school in New York. Amir had admired her from afar for years. Not because she was popular, but because of the way she carried herself, so sure of her place in the world. He spent weeks rehearsing what he would say. It was a warm spring afternoon when he finally approached her. She was at her locker, scrolling through her phone. "Hi, Layla," Amir began, voice soft but steady. She looked up, momentarily confused, then narrowed her eyes. "Yeah? I was wondering if you'd like to get a coffee sometime. Maybe after school this week." There was a pause. Then came the laughter. Cruel and sharp. "You? Are you even serious? First of all, you look like you shop from donation bins. And second, you're Arab. Not even if you were the last guy on Earth." Gasps rippled through nearby students. Some laughed, others just stared. Amir didn't respond. He simply nodded, his heart thudding in his chest, and turned away. Behind him, Layla rolled her eyes. What was he thinking? Amir didn't go to school the next day. Or the one after. He said he had the flu, but really he just needed space. At home, in the small apartment he shared with his mother and younger sister, Amir dove into his world, a world of coding, design, and business ideas. He had been building a website in secret, a customizable digital fashion design platform. It was a hobby at first, but now, fueled by pain and humiliation, it became an obsession. He named it Threadverse. It let users design and share digital clothing items, collaborate on collections, and even sell virtual designs for avatars in the growing metaverse fashion world. He coded late into the night, fueled by silence and a growing determination to rise. By the time he returned to school, the whispers had died down. He moved through the halls quietly, ignored the stares, and kept building. A month later, his site went viral. A few influencers picked it up, and suddenly Amir was getting emails from investors, YouTubers, and tech blogs. He opened a bank account, registered the company name, and with help from a free business incubator in the city, turned Threadverse into a small startup. Money began to flow in. But Amir didn't flaunt it. He still wore the same quiet clothes. Still kept to himself. But something in him had shifted. Maya transferred to Crestwood High in March. Tall, confident, with natural curls she refused to straighten and a fierce intelligence that intimidated even teachers. She wore vintage jackets and carried Toni Morrison novels in her backpack. Amir first noticed her in the library. She was sketching something in a notebook. Not clothes, but buildings, cities, people. He leaned over without thinking. "You're good." She looked up, surprised. "Thanks. You draw too." He nodded, holding up his sketchpad. From that moment, a friendship sparked. They spent lunch hours sketching, talking, laughing about the absurdities of high school. She didn't care where he was from. She cared about what he thought, what he saw, what he dreamed of. When he finally asked her out, she smiled and said, "I thought you'd never ask." By May, Threadverse had over 300,000 users. Amir was in meetings with venture capitalists, flying out on weekends to conferences, all while keeping up his grades. He still lived in the same apartment, but he had a plan, a real plan to move his family into a better place after graduation. He bought a sleek, used car with cash. He got his first tailored suit. And when he walked into the senior gala with Maya beside him, jaws dropped. Layla was standing by the punch table, bored, when she saw them. "Who's that?" her friend whispered. "Wait. Is that Amir?" He looked different. Confident. Poised. Magnetic. Maya was radiant beside him, laughing at something he whispered. Layla blinked, stunned. After the gala, Layla found him by the balcony, looking out over the city skyline. "Hey, Amir," she said, her voice sugar-coated. He turned slowly. "Hi. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. About before. I was stupid. Immature. You know how high school is, right?" He nodded slowly. "People change." She stepped closer. "Maybe we could start over? I mean, you're doing really well. I'd love to know more about your work. You always were interesting." He chuckled softly. "Interesting? You mean back when I looked like I shopped from donation bins? Or because I'm Arab?" She blushed. "I didn't mean it like that. You meant exactly what you said. And you had every right to your opinion." She looked hopeful. "So maybe we could." "No," he said gently but firmly. "You had your chance." He turned and walked back inside where Maya was waiting. Layla watched from the balcony as Amir and Maya disappeared into the night, laughter echoing in the air. She stood alone. Sometimes the richest hearts are hidden in the quietest souls. And sometimes when you judge someone too quickly, you miss the opportunity of a lifetime. Amir didn't just walk away with success. He walked away with dignity, with love, and with someone who had seen his light even in the dark. And Layla? She was left with a memory of what could have been a lesson dressed in regret. But Amir's story was only just beginning. Threadverse was now trending globally. Major fashion houses were beginning to reach out. He had just received an invitation to Paris Fashion Week, not as a guest, but as a keynote speaker. Maya helped him design the slides for his presentation. She believed in him not because he was rich or famous, but because she knew his mind. Their connection deepened, built not on appearances, but mutual understanding, creativity, and a shared vision for the future. Graduation came and went. As the school year closed, Amir gave a quiet speech as valedictorian, thanking his mother and sister and briefly nodding to the people who tried to define him before he had the chance to show who he really was. Layla clapped, but it was a hollow sound lost among the genuine applause. Summer brought rapid changes. Amir's company received a multi-million-dollar valuation. He moved his family into a spacious home near the lake. Maya helped decorate the studio where he now designed fashion for digital and physical collections. Together, they launched a charity initiative through Threadverse to provide digital education for underprivileged kids worldwide. Months later, during an industry gala in New York, Amir and Maya arrived in a sleek, black Rolls-Royce. Cameras flashed. Reporters gathered. Layla, now working a retail job during her gap year, saw the photos online. There he was. The boy she laughed at. Now a man the world respected. And he wasn't alone. He had chosen someone who saw him before the shine. Someone who saw his soul. Layla closed the tab and sighed. That moment in the hallway replayed in her head, the words she once tossed so carelessly, now a weight she couldn't lift. Some lessons come softly. Others arrive dressed in suits and driving Rolls-Royces, reminding you of the opportunity you threw away. As Amir and Maya watched the Paris skyline from their hotel balcony, sipping espresso and planning their next collaboration, he turned to her and said, "Can you believe how far we've come?" She smiled, brushing her curls from her face. "I always could. You just had to believe it too." Below, the city shimmered with life, unaware of the quiet victory happening above it. And as they leaned into each other, silhouetted against the lights, Amir finally felt something he had only ever dreamed of. Not just success, not even love, peace. And in that stillness, he wrote a final note in his journal. "To the girl who saw only skin and not soul, thank you. You pushed me toward the one who did." He closed the book, kissed Maya on the forehead, and stepped back into the night with her, hand in hand. The world was wide, and their story was just beginning to be written. After some years, Threadverse had grown beyond anyone's imagination. With offices in New York, London, and Dubai, the platform had revolutionized the fashion tech space. Amir had been named to Forbes 30 Under 30 and was often quoted in international media for his insights on culture, identity, and innovation. He and Maya co-authored a best-selling book about creativity, resilience, and partnership. It became required reading at several design schools. Their bond had only strengthened. Maya eventually launched her own architectural firm that focused on designing inclusive creative spaces. They married on a quiet hilltop in Morocco with family and close friends. The ceremony was intimate and filled with joy. Maya's vows ended with, "You were never invisible. Just waiting for the right eyes to see you." Layla, meanwhile, eventually returned to school. She studied communications and began advocating online for anti-bullying initiatives, a silent penance for her past. Though she would never publicly admit who inspired her transformation, those closest to her saw a gentler, more self-aware person emerge. Amir and Maya now mentored young creators around the world. Every year, they funded scholarships in Amir's old school district, including one named The Light Within. And each time he visited his childhood neighborhood, Amir would pause and reflect, not with anger or resentment, but with gratitude for the long, winding road that led him to love, legacy, and light. The opportunity Layla threw away was never about dating a boy. It was about recognizing a soul. But Amir? He had found the one who always saw it clearly. And together, they built a future where no one would have to prove their worth to be seen.